The longer I've been in this hobby, the more I've realized that getting and chasing down a grill, while that is very satisfying, it also makes me really happy when I can help a friend out get a knife that they're really wanting. So this is no longer mine. I've sold it, but I sold it and I intentionally bought it. And we'll get to, I have two of these other models in my collection. The reason I bought it is because I have a buddy, his name's Alex, and he wanted to get one of these, and I told him about the drop. He missed out. I was able to get one, but I figured I'd pick it up because if he didn't get it, I would surprise him and sell it to him for what I paid, of course. So I was still given the opportunity to review this knife, so that's what I'm about to do. So we'll jump in. The packaging on this is pretty standard. You get a box, right? The knife came in a plastic bag, but Alex Steingraber, it's ironic that the person I sold it to, his name's Alex, gives you a couple stickers. He's got the Lamia sticker and then SPK, his insignia for his company. The blade is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I will go ahead and showcase one of the other ones I have. I have two other ones in my collection. And what he did on this model, there's no longer milling on the blade. I don't know if you can hear that. I'm going to put this next to my mic and see if you can hear that. Probably not. It's not very deep, but the milling is there, if you can see it. So he did away with the milling on this. This is the Gen 4 Rev 1, and the milling style is called XPJX. This is an Elmax steel. It's got a thumb hole for the opener. You can slow roll it and reverse flick it. I will say the detent's not super strong on this compared to the other two I have. And we'll get to a more comparison later with the other two that are in my collection. But it does look like a very slim profile, thin behind the edge, right? Not a very thick blade stock by any means. It's got a nice drop point blade shape to it, which you can't go wrong with. There's no jimping on the blade or anything. I wouldn't consider this a hard use knife. Definitely more of a high end, classy EDC. Very nice. Let's do some test cutting. So typically I do cut magazine paper. I will cut some rope, a zip tie. But since I'm selling it to my buddy, I am not going to do those things. I don't think magazine paper will hurt it, so let's just test that out. I'm going to be honest, it could be a little more sharp. Well, it's okay. It cuts, but I think it could use some refinement on the edge. Back to the milling. So this is the XPJX, as I mentioned. That's the milling style. And it's so gorgeous. It's got this diamond-like aesthetic to it, but broken down very small. At least that's what it reminds me of. If you look really deeply, it's like tons of diamond shapes all throughout the handle, front and back. Even the pocket clip has the milling on it, but the pocket clip milling is actually a little different. This is more angled lines all the way through. This is just gorgeous. Oh, look at that finish. It kind of is a fingerprint magnet though. I don't know if you can see it, but in the lighting it doesn't look like it, but if it wasn't so bright, you might be able to see the fingerprints on it a little bit more. Very minimal hardware. You got your pivot screw, your body screw right there that holds that end back spacer. It's a frame lock, as you can see. It does have good action on it already. It does drop shut. And he uses a detent ramp. It's hard to see, but you might be able to right there. So even as you contact the detent ball, very minimal force is needed to overcome the detent to close it. Now I know detent is typically referred to as the ability to keep a knife closed. And so detent ball, really to overcome the detent, is about the opening action. But you do overcome that detent ball again during the closing right there. Let's take a look at some size comparisons. So I brought out some big boys. Well, by that I mean kind of in the higher end range of knives. Above right here is the McNeese Dixon, huge by the way. And then on the bottom, we do have a Chris Reeve Sabenza 31, the large. Both substantially larger than the Lamia. Let's see what else we got. We got a PM2 on top, again larger, and then something more along the size of the Lamia is a Benchmade bug out. So as you can see, definitely closer to the bug out. The cutting edge is a little bit longer on the Lamia, but overall length is very comparable. The action on this one is nice. This is using a softer detent than the other models I have. And I can tell mostly, so this is a Gen 4, it doesn't have any rev after it, but this is takes a lot more force to open it with a thumb roll. Thumb flicking is fine, but this has a stronger detent, or he might have modified the way pressure is being put on the lock bar. Because let's say if my hands are on the lock bar right here, I can still roll it out really easily. So kudos on this revision. It does, in my opinion, make it a much more enjoyable knife to operate. Since it does have a softer detent, if you mess up the middle finger flick, it won't snap out as much. So I don't know if you can hear that. Testing against the Gen 4. This has a harder snap. It is a stronger detent on this. But I do like the fact that you can slow roll it out so much easier than the Gen 4. I even have the Nature Grip version, which is very similar, and it progressively got better because this one is a little bit easier to thumb roll, but it still has more resistance than the Rev 1. Yeah. I mean, I like them all. I really think the Rev 1 is a better model than the regular Gen 4s. Yeah, it's still very fidgety in that sense if you're a Spidey flicker. But I think it's important to be able to design a knife with the mechanics where you can slow roll it open, because middle finger flicking is, has louder acoustics than a thumb roll. Ergonomics on this is one of my favorite. Lamia itself, it's such a nice, simplistic design, but it gives a lot of great ergonomics on it. So whether you're in a saber grip, hammer grip, reverse grip may be the least of my favorites because the clip, you can feel it a little bit more than the other two orientations. But in a saber grip, you might feel a bit of pressure right here. Not a deal breaker. Hammer grip, you'll feel more of that clip in your hand, but comfortable regardless. It's one of my favorite designs. I tend to find that handles that don't have a bunch of finger grooves or different augmentations to the frame itself tends to be more comfortable, at least just from my experience. There's definitely exceptions though. There are plenty of knives that do create that groove that molds into your hand that are just as comfortable. But Alex did an amazing job on this one. The pocket clip is titanium milled, and it does have great retention. What I mean by that is that it's not very stiff. For me, having a well-balanced pocket clip is very important on the knife. So let's take a shot of that in the pocket. Easy in. You can see how much knife is sticking out. I think that's just the right amount if you're not into deep carry pocket clips. You can see up close, plenty of, it doesn't take much real estate, so plenty of room to get your hand in there if needed. And extraction, very easy. I don't think it'll fall out. Depends on the force, I guess, right? But that's all relative. Excellent job on the pocket clip. Functions exactly as it should. Not too stiff on retention. It's got a nice milling pattern, as I mentioned. It's different from the frame, but still very, very clean. Nice aesthetics on it. I like the simplicity of him putting his insignia on the end of the pocket clip. And it's also on the blade, but when you open the blade up, it hides that. So that's kind of cool. And the steel type, actually. So the Elmax is right there. and the SPK both get hidden. So this is from his recent drop, and it did sell out, I want to say within less than a minute. It went quick. And then alluding back to the introduction of this video, my buddy Alex wasn't able to get one, and so I did want to surprise him and get it in case he missed out. If he did get it, great. I would just keep it in the collection. They're not really a big deal. This is really nice though. So again, this is not currently available, but Alex does tend to do drops on a fairly regular basis. I would say maybe a couple times a year. Maybe that isn't very regular. So I guess, again, that's also relative. What are my final thoughts? I really like this. I have two other ones in my collection that I've showcased earlier. If you want to just take a look at that again, the nature grips on top. We got the kind of the plain Jane with the sandblasted finish on the bottom. This is a winner right here. They did a really good job. The milling pattern isn't super grippy. It does provide some level of traction, but isn't grippy in a sense where it's uncomfortable. It just has a nice aesthetic to it. And again, the design the Rev 1 is, I think it's better. It's easier, much easier to open with your thumb. You can still fidget and middle finger flick it out. I imagine the action only gets better. It does run on bearings as well. I think a long time ago when we first came out with this Lamias, they were coming out on washers. I don't have any of his older generations though. But this is really nice. Since I've discovered Alex's work, I have been keen to grabbing it. I have two other fixed blades too from him, so really, really nicely done. This was $750 before shipping, which was $10, but certainly on the higher end, not for the faint of heart. However, if you're already buying knives in that price point, this is certainly worth checking out. I think this is one of my favorite knives in that price range. Comparing that to the Oz Roosevelt, the Princeton, the Prince Customs Protean. Those are different sizes though, so I really like this one. This is a great option for $750 if you're already comfortable buying knives in that price range. I personally wouldn't recommend it if you're not comfortable buying knives and spending that much money on it. Awesome design. Kudos to Alex Steingraber. He really knows what he's doing with these folding knives. Let me know if you got any questions or comments. Drop it below. We'd love to engage with you. Appreciate you tuning in. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay frosty.